Hi, thank you for listening. This is Sherry Andrea, and I appreciate you. This video is going to be about healing and the law of attraction. It's going to be a little bit of combination of both. I am actually going to go over some things about healing and illness and what happens. And then I'm going to tie that into the law of attraction. I know there's some information out there um, that is, let's just say, I it's not helpful. So I don't like to go negative. So I don't like to talk about what someone else said or what someone else did. So the best thing that I can do is give you what I've learned and let that be enough. Um, okay, so let's just get started. First of all, let's talk about a little bit about quickly what happens when you end up with an illness. And I don't care what type of illness it is. Just briefly, just so that you can understand. Okay, what happens is an imbalance first begins. You have an imbalance, and that imbalance could have happened for any number of reasons. Um, Anger that you suffer, worry that you suffer, guilt that you suffer, um, jealousy, envy, bias, any number of these what we'll call negative emotions. I also call them lighthouse filters because they actually filter the divine light that's coming within you. Now, for everyone, what I'm getting ready to say, this applies to everyone. When light slash energy comes into you, divine light slash energy comes into you, and when it comes in, it is pure and of a normal quality and quantity. And when I say normal quality and quantity, I mean imagine that it comes into you like a flood, so a lot as far as quantity, and a very pure energy as far as quality. That is what comes into you. Now, this energy that comes into you is so strong and powerful that it can affect great change. It can affect spontaneous healing. Now, if you were to ask, well, if that is true, and everybody's got that going on, well, then why is it that the minute that someone gets sick, are they not immediately healed? Because they always have this pure divine energy coming into them. Glad you asked. Okay, that's because we have, like I said, what I call, and what I don't want you to think that I coined this phrase because I didn't. I believe that Lee Carroll, who channels Cryon, actually coined the phrase lighthouse filters, but I've been using it because I really like it because it says a lot. Lighthouse filters. So imagine your light is like that lighthouse. And the word filters means your light is getting filtered by something. To filter it means that it ends up becoming less than it was and not as pure. Okay, so for everyone, the energy comes into you. And if you ask the question of, okay, well, then why aren't people just instantly healed if they've got this energy coming into them all the time? It is because those negative things I mentioned, filters the light. So once it's within you, the light is filtered down. It ends up being not as pure. So what's filtered down is quality and quantity. So when that light goes out from you, that energy goes out from you, let's say you get attuned to Reiki and you want to become a Reiki healer and you want to heal people, and you're wondering, well, why can't I spontaneously heal people in a powerful way? It may be because you've got some of these things that are filtering your energy, your light, so that when it leaves you, it's not as pure and it's only a trickle. Yeah, it comes into you like a flood, but by the time it gets filtered and everything, basically it's like a dripping faucet. So you've only got a little bit of energy, pure energy, that actually comes out. And yes, it can still affect change. but not as powerfully and not as fast. Um, so that's what happened. So that's the answer to why, if you have this divine light coming into you, why are people not just instantly always being healed and never ending up suffering from an illness? Okay, now let me take this a step further as far as how illnesses actually manifest outwardly. Let's say that 20 years ago, or for those of you who are younger, let's just say 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago. Let's do that. Let's say 5 years ago. Let's say 5 years ago, something happened in your life. Hey, it could have been a bad breakup. It could have been a terrible fight with family members or a friend, but it had an impact on you. And from this experience you had, it upset you. You were angry about it. You had certain things that you believed about what happened. Maybe it was a fight with a friend or a fight with your parents, and in the process of the fight, they said some hurtful things to you, or they said some things that were hurtful to you. Because people can sometimes say things, and how we perceive them, we may be hurt by them. Whereas if somebody else gets that same thing said to them, they may not be as hurt. So it's a perception thing, okay? So let's say something was said to you and you're really, really hurt by it, and you never quite got over it. Now, you may think you did, because eventually, time goes by, and what happens? You forget about it. You put it out of your mind. So many things have happened since that experience. You've had who knows how many relationships, or maybe you've had one major relationship that led to marriage, and it's been a happily ever after type of relationship, and you've had kids, so you've had other things to focus on, and some very good things to focus on. So you kind of put that experience that you had that was bad, you didn't resolve it, but you put it out of your mind. You stopped thinking about it. And you know what? Hey, we're all guilty of this. I'm guilty of this myself. We think if we just put it out of mind and we just never think about that experience and that event again, if we just never replay it in our mind again, if we just never go back and relive that event again in our minds, we'll be fine. We don't have to feel bad about it if we just don't replay it again. And so often that's what we do. If it was a really bad experience, we just want to stop thinking about it. We want to stop thinking about it, and we want to pretend like it didn't even happen. Because if you replay it again in your mind, what happens? Those feelings that you originally had and how bad it upset you, they all come back to the surface again. If you go back and replay it, it's going to elicit an emotional response that's just as bad as when you first experienced it. So this is why often we don't want to do that. We don't want to go back and think about it. We want to just leave it lying. We think it's dead. We're looking at it and we're like, okay, it's not moving. It doesn't see us. If we don't make any quick movements, then it won't see us. So we ignore it and we just let it sit there. We think we've resolved it because we no longer think about it. We think, it's not bothering us anymore. I don't know when's the last time I thought about that, so it's not bothering me anymore. I've resolved it. I've put it to bed. No, you haven't. And I'm not just picking at you. Don't feel like I'm trying to, like I'm the person picking at a scab. I'm not picking at you. I'm guilty of this myself. I can't tell you how many times that with things I had that needed resolving, where I've handled it that way, where it was just like I used a whole out of sight, out of mind thing. But eventually, I'll admit, I had to deal with those things. I had to finally go back and resolve them, because they never got resolved. And it became a subconscious thing. There would be times when an experience I had would subconsciously have that, like a connection to that old experience that I thought I resolved, right? Because I put it out of my mind. So now, 10 years later, something happens that reminds me, not on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level. Something that reminds me of that event, there's that tie to it. Now this is where we're going to use the word trigger. Something now that happens later on triggers me, and that all those feelings come back up again. Yeah, true, new and different experience. However, guess what? It's still related to that first one. Things are connected. A lot of the things that you think are just individual experiences are actually connected to old experiences you had that you never really resolved. You just ignored them and stopped thinking about them. So I say all this to make this point. Something that happened 5 years ago that you just simply stopped thinking about, put it out of your mind, thinking you've resolved it, it's not resolved. And what does it do? It just lays there. And guess what? It lays there and it festers. And it doesn't need your direct attention on it for it to fester. It just being there and just laying there unresolved and doing nothing, it's still going to fester. The only way for it to not do that is to literally resolve it and really let go, get rid of it and release it. And you cannot do that just by thinking about it and go, oh, okay, in meditation, I'm just going to tell myself I'm going to let it go. Please don't do that. That method will not work. And later on down the road, when you manifest a serious illness, you're going to be wondering, okay, what happened? What did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? And so you may try again the whole, in meditation, I'm just going to tell myself to let this go. Oh, let everything go. Just let it all go. I'm sorry. But if it were that easy, we'd be living in a world where everybody would be happy and this would be heaven on earth. So that technique does not work. But what does work is the understanding that things and events, experiences that happen to us, they don't just go away. They lay there seeming to be dormant and they fester. And eventually they fester and they cause an imbalance. They may cause an imbalance in the sacral chakra, in one of the lower chakras. If it's something that affects you in a fearful way, it may, cause an imbalance in the root chakra. And because it's not getting resolved and it's just laying there, what happens is, even if you're a person who's into doing chakra work, sure, that's great. You can do chakra work and you can clear and balance those chakras, but guess what? It's still there laying unresolved. So what happens is that the chakra continues to become unbalanced and and blocked. So you clear it today, and then lo and behold, tomorrow and the next day you go to check it and you're like, oh, this chakra is unbalanced again. So you clear it again. And this is you haven't really solved anything. Just because you do chakra work every day, you may not be resolving anything, because you may not be going back and resolving that experience that you had. So then what ends up eventually happening is, okay, now let's say an illness manifests outwardly. Go to the doctor says, you have XYZ. And you're like, oh my goodness. And you're like, oh, okay, I want to resolve my problem. What do I need to do to resolve my problem? Well, unfortunately, right now, there are some teachers that are teaching that you need to take your focus away from it. You need to focus on something else. Take your focus off that. Tell yourself you're letting that go. Tell yourself you no longer have that problem. Now, unfortunately, there are a lot of spiritual teachers that are teaching this type of method right now. Unfortunately, they're guilty of killing a lot of people also. They're guilty of of being the cause of a lot of people ending up following a method or a technique that actually does nothing, doesn't even come anywhere close to solving or resolving their problem or healing themselves. And unfortunately, they are guilty of killing people. And unfortunately, that's karma, and they will suffer that. That's why I really try to, even though some of these talks are seemingly at an intermediate level and sometimes hard to grasp, I try as best I can to explain it in a way where maybe even the beginner can get it, because I think it is important. I think it's important that you understand how things work so that you can truly help yourself. Don't try to take any shortcuts. Don't use the let it go, let it go, let it go method. It will not work for you. It will not heal anything. You'll be killing some time. That's about it. Instead, start resolving some of your issues. And now I know I get questions from, a lot of times when I do coaching, I get the question of, okay, well, if I do want to do this work on myself and I do want to resolve my unresolved issues, how do I know what they are? How do I know what I have that's unresolved? If today I can say to you, I feel fine. I feel like I don't have any issues. I feel like I'm not mad at anything. Well, I'll tell you my method, and you can feel free to use it. I felt the same way. I thought the same thing. I really want to get to working on myself, but I don't know, what do I need to work on? What is really causing me an issue? At that time, I was doing, a lot of praying, a lot of meditating, a lot of just, I believe in conversational prayer with God. Whether it's God, whether it's Buddha, it doesn't matter who it is. I do believe in having a couple times a day those conversational prayers. What I mean is not just praying a Hail Mary prayer or praying a certain mantra, but actually sitting down and having a conversation with God. And I know my friend Kier Johnson, he told me that there's this book and you might want to get it. And I'm sorry I don't remember the author, but I know the book is called Conversations with God. Where that was the premise of the book that the guy wrote, was he was doing this daily conversations he was having with God, and I do the same thing. It's a method of prayer that is very effective. So ask God, ask your higher self, ask your guides. I don't care who you want to ask, but make the call. I'm using the word call. Make the call. The call compels the answer. I promise you, if you call and if you ask, it will be answered. I guarantee you. Because I'm no more special than you are. And if I made the call and it was answered, I guarantee you, if you ask, it will be answered for you too. So make the call and ask. Just make the statement like I did. I really want to work on myself. I really want to work on spiritual advancement. I want to be a better person. I want to be a better person for my son so that he's not raised by a mother who's a maniac. Because at one point in my life, the beginning of his life, from the age of 0 to 2, I was a little bit of the maniac person, I'll admit. I was out of control. And now here I am, totally different person, not even the same. Sometimes I feel like I should change my name. I dropped my last name. I don't use it. I go by Sherry Andrea, but sometimes I feel like I should do a more drastic change, because I literally am not that person anymore. I literally am this new person. And I sometimes feel like, maybe I should have a new name. Like often, the spiritual seekers at some point will change their name, or their guru or their teacher, their master will give them a new name to go by. Sometimes I feel like I need a new name because I'm so totally not who I used to be. But anyway, what I did was I actually said, God, I really want to work on myself. I really want to become a better person, not just for myself, but for my son and for everyone in humanity, because obviously I cannot help anyone else unless I first help myself and I resolve the issues I have. And I really want to do this, and I want to do it in a timely manner. I don't want it to take 10, 20 years. I want to hurry up and work on myself and resolve my issues. I will follow you if you guide me. I will give you my time. If you help me with this, I'll give you the time that's needed to dedicate to doing this. And, make sure that if you're stating this and you're asking, and be serious about it. Don't just make these statements and then don't do it. Don't make these statements and then when the phone rings the next day and your friend's like, you want to go and hang out? Now you're putting that on the back burner. If you're going to make this call, be ready to not put this on the back burner. Because believe me, if you make the call and if you then act in a way that shows that you are serious, that you're serious, you're dedicated, and you're going to be tenacious, help will just show up like you wouldn't believe. So please make the call and ask that things be brought to the surface for you. Ask, I would like for whatever I need to work on to be brought to the surface. And every time it's brought to the surface, I will work on it. Once it's resolved, then I want the very next thing to be right away brought to the surface, the next thing I need to work on. This is a good technique to use to work on yourself, because the only thing it requires you to do is, one, make that request, and two, then pay attention, be aware. Let's say it's a normal day for you. You've already made the call. A week has gone by. It's a normal day for you. You're in the house, you're doing some laundry, you're doing some dishes, and all of a sudden, something comes to mind, a situation that happened in the past. And you think to yourself, wow, that's weird that came to mind. That happened like 15 years ago, and I haven't thought about it since. 15 years later, first time it's coming to mind, just out of the blue. Don't ignore that. You're getting your answer. What you asked for is now happening. It's being brought to the surface. It's almost like somebody's putting it in front of you and saying, here you go. I want to show you. This is your first assignment. This is what you need to work on. Do not take anything for granted. Don't just let these things go when these things come to mind. Don't just brush them aside and go, that's funny. Wonder why that came up. Oh, well, and then brush it aside. Don't do that, because you're intuitively being told what you need to work on next. Listen to it. Now, for some of you, if you're like me, you may get the answers in symbolism as well. You may get them through dreams you have. Dreams may tell you what you need to work on. Also, a combination of other symbols you see. Maybe it's like, you're sitting outside and you're like, saw a dragonfly. And then you note to yourself, I haven't seen a dragonfly in a long time now. And I just saw a dragonfly. And its behavior, there was something different about its behavior that caught my attention. Oh, right after, 2 seconds after, I see a snake. Okay, sometimes you may get your answers through symbolism. And I know you're going to be like, well, how do I know what I need to work on? Simple. Go to a dream dictionary like dreammoods.com or something. Look up the symbols. Read it. When it tells you that when you realize both dragonflies and snakes are about transformation, then you might be able to say, oh, okay, this is a good sign. I think it's letting me know that even just my call, my request to get help and to bring these things to the surface so I can work on it, that by me doing that, I've turned a corner. Just by doing that, I've turned a corner. And this is telling me, just because of doing that, you're getting ready to go through a transformation, and you're getting ready to advance a little, just from simply doing that. And yes, often that's the way it happens. Sometimes we advance just by making a decision or a choice that helps us turn a corner. And it's very impactful, and the reason why that would lead to transformation, because this may lead to a big change in your life. So you can understand why you might see those symbols. So you see them, you understand what it means, still not maybe telling you what you need to work on, be patient. Wait, it's coming. Trust me, it's coming. And if you're just aware and you're paying attention, you won't miss it. So don't worry. Okay, now I said in the beginning that I want to talk about healing and I wanted to talk about the law of attraction. Okay. I've heard some talks and I've read some things where people are kind of they're tying in they're talking about the law of attraction, and then they're also speaking about illness and healing and manifesting healing. Um, for me, when I think of the law of attraction and I think of things like healing, illnesses manifesting, illnesses that have festered in chakras and caused an imbalance that later on, manifested outwardly. When I think of those two things, there's no connection for me. Now, there's maybe a slight, small little one. Like, for example, if you're doing a lot of spiritual work every day, let's just say you're doing a lot of spiritual work. Let's say a couple hours a day, you're praying, you're meditating, you're saying decrees, everything, and you're doing really good at that. And your focus is on health, as well as action is there as well. Maybe you're working out every day, you're making that effort once a day, you're getting on the treadmill, or you're going for a walk. So not only are you putting out the high vibrating energy. Now I know Esther Hicks talks about raise your vibrations. That's not exactly right. It is not raising your vibrations. That's not the act of actually doing anything. That's raising your vibrations is one thing. Sending out high vibrating energy out into the universe so you're owed something in return, that's something different. Raising your vibrations is great because there are many benefits, of course, to it. However, what it actually is that you need to be doing is, one, sending out high vibrating energy. Two, you need to be focused on what it is you're trying to bring to yourself. And three, the action has to be there. What are you doing? Thought is not taking action. Listen to me carefully, because some of the talks and things that I've read, people teaching the law of attraction, they are putting people under the impression that thought equals action, and it does not. Thought equals focus. Thought equals what am I focused on? There are all the things that need to be in place for the law of attraction to work, for you to manifest something, are you have to be you have to be sending out enough high vibrating energy so that you're owed something in return. Focus, you have to be focused on it. So that's where your thought comes into play. Thought equals focus, focus equals thought. Because where your thoughts go, your energy goes. Okay? So if it's the law of attraction, you're trying to attract something and you're sending out enough high vibrating energy, I just said where your thoughts go, that's where energy goes. And then the third thing that must be in place is action. There must be action. What action are you taking? So if you're trying to get good health, your action that you're taking may be eating right and making sure that you get at least 20 minutes of exercise a day. I don't care if that's just, doing a few simple exercises just in your house, or if that's taking a walk. Those three things, and write them down if you need to, those three things have to be in place, have to be being done for the law of attraction to work. If those three things are not being done, the law of attraction will not work. No one should teach the law of attraction without clearly teaching you the three things that must be in place to make it happen. Okay, now now that you know how you can manifest something, there is something else that may hinder your being able to manifest. Something that many people that teach the law of attraction don't talk about, unfortunately. Karma. If you're carrying a heavy karmic load, you can do everything right. You could do so many things right and then be still sitting there going, Why am I not manifesting what I've been working so hard to manifest? I've been doing everything right and still nothing's happening. If your karmic load is too heavy, it's like weighing you down. It's almost like saying the universe is looking and going, yeah, she's doing everything right. Yeah, she's sending me high vibrating energy. Oh, but wait a minute. I still see she's very heavily on the negative karmic side. I can't send her anything quite yet. She still technically owes me because she's too much in the negative karmic hole. So if your karmic backpack is too heavy, it will affect what you can manifest. It will affect even what you like, kind of what you attract to yourself. Like it can affect how how you deal with illness, like whether or not you're able to fight off illness effectively. Even so many things karma will affect, so keep that in mind. And if your simple question, what can I do? One of the easiest things, besides making sure that you don't create any more negative karma, so try to be nice, try not to get upset about things and vent on people. Try not to say, when it comes to karma, it's not just what you do, it's not just your action, it's actions, thoughts, and deeds. So try your hardest to be kind even when you don't have to be. You don't need an excuse to be kind. So don't get into the habit of, I need a reason to do something for someone. You don't need a reason other than it's good karma for you. Make sure that if you have an issue with the relationship with your parents, it may be very hard, but try to resolve it. It is very good karma to not only be respectful and obedient to your parents, but also to, in their older age, be there for them, assist them, and take care of them. It is bad karma to not do that. Same thing with your husbands or your wives. It is good karma to treat them well, to look out for them, to be their protectors, and it is bad karma to not do that. So kind of watch what you're doing that would affect you karmically. Karmically speaking. Also, you can utilize the violet flame. The violet flame decree is, I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity God desires. Saying that decree repeatedly while visualizing yourself surrounded by a violet flame, and doing this as often as possible every day, will help to remove some of your karma. So you can actively be helping yourself with karma. So I just want to let you know that when it comes to fighting illness, if you think you're going to try and use the law of attraction, that's not really the best method to fight illness, is using the law of attraction. The law of attraction will help you to attract good things to yourself. However, sometimes things that have already been festering and now they've already begun to manifest, or if it's something that is manifesting because of karma, it's likened to a snowball rolling down the hill. Once that snowball starts rolling down the hill and it starts collecting more snow and picking up momentum, it cannot be stopped. I know that sounds kind of negative to say. It almost sounds like you've got no hope. And I'm not really saying that. I'm not saying you have no hope. I'm saying keep in mind that once something begins to manifest, or if it's karma, when something begins to play out, sometimes it's too late to stop it. So the only thing that you can do is really common sense things. There are some awesome things that can be used that can help with cancer. There is laugh therapy that can be used. Laughter is excellent at healing. Watching a comedy routine, or like what is it called? The Three Stooges, something like that, if you like them. That something is going to keep you laughing a lot and watching that every day. There was a man who was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Instead of just you know, getting depressed and waiting to die, he actually ordered a set of the Three Stooges, which was his favorite show, and he loved them. And he sat there in front of his TV watching them and laughing and laughing. The next time he went back to the doctor, um, all evidence of the cancer was gone, totally healed. Wasn't even there anymore. So there are things that you can look into that will be effective. Okay, other things. Um, Lee Carroll slash Cryon did a channeling one time that gave information on what happens with the cells, and what's going on when it comes to we have our white blood cells, which are supposed to, fight off diseases and things that aren't supposed to be in our body. So he did this channeling that discussed, and this is, on the scientific side of things, that discussed, okay, well, what's going on that when cancer is in our body, what, the white blood cells aren't recognizing it and fighting it off, or what's happening? Um, and what he explained was that we're so used to not talking to our bodies and not telling our bodies what to do and how to handle things, that um, and I'm sorry if I'm not explaining this very well, but I'm going to give you the gist of it. Basically, what he was saying was that the white blood cells, the cancer cells, were manifesting in a way where the white blood cells weren't recognizing that this was something that they needed to get rid of. And so there was like, almost to the white blood cells, it's like saying, well, there was no marker to say, this is a cell that's foreign that shouldn't be here, get rid of it. And so literally the white blood cells weren't doing anything to fight them off and to get rid of them. So this isn't a matter of, oh, I need to boost my immune system. No. What are you boosting? You can boost your immune system, but if the white blood cells are basically saying, I don't know what this is, and I think it's okay, so I'm not going to do anything to it, how will boosting your immune system help? Yeah, it's great to have a strong immune system, but that only helps when the white blood cells are actually doing something and fighting. So what he discussed was actually talking to your body and telling it when certain cells, like when a cancer cell enters my body, don't just do nothing. Actually fight it off. That cell should not be there. Um, so he gets into a discussion of actually talking to your body and giving your body instructions. And he did a really nice discussion on that. You're not subservient to the brain. You are the one in charge. You are in charge of the brain. And the brain is not the one in total control at the top of the totem pole. Actually, your DNA is. So being susceptible to some of these things is actually information that's stored in the DNA. Really nice talk. So what I will do is I will find a link to that channeling in case you want to read it, because it was very interesting. And I will make sure that I put the link in the description for this video so that you will be able to go and read that. There are also other things. I'm going to put a link also to something, because other ways that you can help yourself, besides going, of course, you have to go to your doctor. You go to your doctor and you let your doctor do his thing. That's what they're there for. They are problem based, and that's how they work. So if you have a problem, they can solve it. If you go in there and you have no problem presenting, meaning you have nothing manifesting outwardly, That's not really what doctors are for. They are problem oriented. They are problem solvers. Give them a problem, then there is something to solve. No problem manifesting, as far as they're concerned, there is nothing to solve or resolve. So there are some other things that you can use, that you can try. And if you've got a family member who is suffering from cancer, who is just being diagnosed, I am really a big proponent of, hit it from all angles. Um, Tackle this from not just one angle, just relying just solely on your doctor. Help your doctor out. Rely not only on your doctor and the treatments he's going to give you, but also help your own self. Um, Help your own self by, like I said, maybe practicing laughter therapy. And I know that there's this lady that I think she not only teaches this, but I think she may also have a book, and it's called the Laughter Yoga. So if you Google that, maybe you can find the information. I highly recommend it. Laughter is very, very healing. Um, Also, there's an extract that I am going to post the link to as well. So, and if I'm not mistaken, this extract is good not just for cancer, but for other things as well. And yeah, I'm being told right now, I'm being told in a very strong way, yes, that's true, that this extract that I'm going to place the link to is also very, very good for not just cancer, but healing other things as well. So I hope this video was helpful to you. I hope I was able to explain um, a few things so that it's more clear, at least to the point where you feel like, you're empowered enough to be able to help yourself, to understand and to help yourself. Um, if there is any questions you have, you can feel free to contact me through my website, sherryandrea.com. As always, I'm always more than willing to take a donation, even if it's just a few dollars, so that I can continue doing what I do and continue offering help, support, coaching. There are many that are in need of coaching. Many of you, when you find yourself in need of help, the finances may not be there at that time. And so I try to never turn anyone away that needs help, regardless of whether they have money or not. So the help comes first. And then, sometimes down the road, the person will give me a donation, or it will be compensated by somebody else giving me a donation. And that is how I work. And that is how I insist on continuing to work. And so if you want to help out, if you want to even, donate $25 and call it donating money so that, somebody else that maybe doesn't have any money that really needs some help can get the help that they need. Or, if you would like coaching yourself, you can go to my website, sherryandrea.com, and on the link that says Get Help Now, it explains how you could just make a donation of any amount, and then we'll set up a time that day or then within the next couple of days where we can talk on the phone or on Skype, and so that I can give you whatever help that it is that you need, or if you just need to have a couple of coaching sessions so that information like this or something else, so that you can get a better grasp on it for yourself. I will do that as well. Or if you're going through something right now that you're having a hard time dealing with and getting over, maybe it's a bad breakup, maybe it's someone you deal with, family, friend, coworkers all the time that you're having a hard time dealing with right now. You don't know how to handle it. I do coaching sessions for people where I will do a few coaching sessions until we can get through that, resolve that, so that they're in a place where at least they are whole, they're not being negatively affected, and they have a better understanding so they can go forward without feeling like they're getting hurt or they're the victim. So I look forward to hearing from you, and I appreciate so much your time listening that you took. I love you. Namaste.